Hi everyone, welcome to the Top 5 Grant Writing Do's and Don'ts. This is a free webinar offered by Schuylkill GrantWorks LLC. The level of the webinar is beginner. Schuylkill GrantWorks LLC is a local grant writing and development service located in St. Clair. I primarily serve nonprofits and other community-based organizations in Schuylkill County. The do's. Read guidelines, directions, or instructions. Before you do anything, always read through the guidelines, directions, and instructions at least a few times so you understand exactly what the funder may be asking for. Reach out to the funder for clarification or questions. Make sure that you're prepared in what you're going to ask if you're going to be facilitating a phone call. If you're writing an email, make sure that it's professional and courteous to the funder, and refer to the actual page or part of the guidelines or instructions that your question is stemming from. Plan ahead and be aware of deadlines. Always make sure that you plan to work through deadlines. Make sure the deadline is listed on the calendar. Make sure if you're working with a team of people on the grant that everyone is aware of deadlines and you're preparing for them. Be clear and concise in your writing. Do not make run-on sentences or several sentences. Make sure that the sentence structure is clear. It's always a good idea to give the grant application to someone who is separated from the process and get their opinion. Ask them, do they understand what you're writing the grant for? Is it clear what the project or program is and the target population? It's helpful to ask questions like that to get a good idea if your writing is clear and concise. Always include a realistic budget that aligns directly with your proposed project or program. Write the project or program description in your grant application just like it tells a story, but your budget should also match that story. Do not include things that are in your budget that you don't really allude to or speak to very clearly in your grant application. That will leave some unanswered questions for those who are reviewing your grant application. The top 5 don'ts. Do not react to grants or continually rush to meet deadlines. Again, plan ahead. Have some planning meetings within your organization. Look for grants ahead of time and create a grants calendar. That's a really good tip to plan ahead. The faster you move, the more likely you may make very unfortunate mistakes. Do not use jargon, acronyms, or flowery language. Again, be concise and straight to the point. You are not sure once you submit your grant application whose hands the grant application will be held in, and you're not sure what perspective that grant reviewer may have. They may not understand your industry's jargon or the acronyms that you're used to using every day. If you do use those in your proposal, make sure you spell them out. Make sure that you're explaining the jargon and acronyms. And always make sure, avoid flowery language. Again, clear and concise is the way to write a grant. Do not assume the funders know about your organization, the people you serve, or your service area. Always describe your organization within your grant application as if they're not sure where you're located or what the mission of your organization is. Describe your organization in the setting. Describe what state you are in, your county, your municipality. Describe the type of people you serve, or perhaps your program or project or organization serves others. Maybe it targets also animals or historic preservation or direct client service. Always describe your service area. Talk about the community. I often talk about Schuylkill County as being in the coal region area of northeastern Pennsylvania. So take that into consideration when you're developing your grant application. Do not lecture or shout in the written narratives. What I mean by shout is do not use excessive exclamation points. Actually, you should not use exclamation points in the written grant narrative. That is actually considered shouting to your grant reviewers. Do not lecture or try to inform or teach or be the most knowledgeable about the topic. And I'm not talking about quoting research. I'm talking that you should not write a grant from the perspective that you are lecturing the funder. A lot of times the funder will have some type of information to base your project on, and they will actually have guidelines themselves on how they're going to award you points in your grant application. But make sure that you do not lecture. If you make any statements in your grant application, make sure that you can back those statements or facts up with some type of data. Do not forgo checking the completed grant applications for spelling errors, missing information, or required attachments. Always proofread, have someone else on your team or someone else that you may know if you're, for example, working for a small nonprofit. Ask them to check for spelling errors. Always check your grant application against the grant guidelines and instructions. Make sure you're not missing any key information. Another good tip is to use an outline. Make some notes as you're reading the grant guidelines. Cross-check your notes with your actual grant application. Also, double-check to see if you are missing any of the required attachments. You do not want to submit the grant and then find out you were rejected because you forgot to submit essential attachments. Stay tuned for upcoming grant writing webinars. I will be hosting beginner to advanced level. One of the titles of the upcoming webinars will be Tips for a Successful Grant Seeking Strategy. I will be offering live and pre-recorded webinars where you will have the chance to actually interact with me live. I will be offering this through a subscription service and a per webinar service. There will be prices listed for various webinars over the next couple weeks, so be ready for that. If you're interested in learning more, you may check out my website, www.schuylkillgrantworks.com, and also make sure that you stay with me through social media, through Facebook and Twitter, and also Instagram. You may also email me directly at info@schuylkillgrantworks.com. A note of thanks to the Penn State Schuylkill Lion Launch Business Plan Competition judges and the program for selecting Schuylkill GrantWorks, LLC as a winner of the 2019 Business Plan Competition. Thank you, and until next time, let's work together to inspire. Let inspiration ignite positive change. Thank you.